Workman. So tell a little bit of how you began, do you think, growing up in Effingham?
Yeah, will do. And thanks again for the opportunity to share. And I do hope in some small way that somebody will come up with an idea or a thought, or maybe it might reinforce an idea that's in their head that other folks may think it's crazy and cause them to move forward. And that'd be just awesome if that were the outcome of this talk we have today.
Yeah.
So I grew up on a farm in downstate Illinois, about 100 miles straight east of St. Louis, but I can't tell what the population is because it didn't have a population sign. It was the farm. I went to a 3-room grade school, had 6 in my class. There were 4 in the class ahead of me, and my mom was my teacher 1st and 2nd grade.
No kidding.
Yeah, I know. And so when I was in 4th grade, we moved to the big city of Clay City, Illinois, population 900. And I graduated high school there in 1973. That high school still exists. I do not know why. It has 48 kids today in the high school.
Wow.
But I graduated then from SIU Carbondale in 77. And I went to dental school and I graduated from dental school in 1980. I say that probably the key to my success in life as a dentist is the fact that my dental school was the last class to go through in 3 years. So I got one year less brain damage. And so I graduated in 1980. And, you know, I would have never dreamed in a million years I would be doing what I'm doing today. It wasn't the original plan. My goal coming out of school, if I could have been paid $25,000 a year as an associate, I would have taken that job, but I couldn't. And my next 2 goals were to not end up working on the family farm, which I had done a lot of, I'll just say it that way. And then maybe not end up having to move home. And so I found an office for rent in Effingham, Illinois, population 12,000 now. That was about 45 minutes from home. And but that's how I started my practice. I borrowed $32,500 from my parents and grandparents and started to practice. And, you know, again, didn't have a lot of confidence, but the good news is I began to figure out reasonably quickly that if I treated people right and I tried hard, focused on, you know, doing my best for each procedure, for each patient, trying to be nice to those patients, that I could build a practice that from today's standards may not have been very successful, but from what my expectations were at the time, it was like, wow. I didn't start out as some, quote, in my mind, a business genius, but I was willing to see patients 50 hours a week, and I was willing to work another 25 or 30 hours a week to try to figure out how to be a better dentist, make better business person. And then eventually, once you start getting, for me at least, those technical skills somewhat under control, over the years, as I began to open an office a year, it became more clear that I was going to need more help, more leverage, that I couldn't do it all myself. And I was raised in an environment on a farm, you're just a can-do person or you're a cannot person. And I was a can-do person, but you realize you have to have more people. And if you're going to be successful, they're going to have to do a lot of work and they have to do it well and blah, blah, blah. And I began to realize that I needed to learn more skills and learn more help, or I was going to hit a ceiling of complexity, we call it at least, where you're just up against what you can do. And it seems like a short time now, but from 1980 to 2004, I think is when I first met you, Dr. Bell. We had on one hand become quite successful. We had sold a business and start all over again, and we're growing it. But even then we were 50, 60 offices. And today we support 1,070. And so what resonated when I first met you at that YPO meeting, my very last YPO meeting that I ever did, I 49'd it out.
Did you in?
That was it, the beginning and the end. But what you said resonated. And while I am tone deaf, as you know, on many things in life, a gentleman told me a decade earlier, you don't have to understand something necessarily to implement it. And I clearly didn't understand a lot of the things that you teach, but it resonated enough for me to know that I needed to explore that. And I needed to explore it not only just for me, certainly I need it a lot, but I had internal things with the business that I knew everybody could use it and it could be helpful to them. And so I went through, my initial work with you, and then we expanded that to the team. And honestly, but what it did now, 16 years later, it has unequivocally transformed and unified or created such alignment with our company. It is a way of life. It is a language. It is a process, a way in which you organize management, I'll call it, that we could never do. I mean, in a million years, what we do without the sum total of what all you teach. A first story I love to tell is, it was 2009 or 2010. I don't remember, but it was in the middle of the Great Recession. And we, it wasn't me, but Pat Bauer, our CEO, they all decided we're all gonna fly like 40 people to Las Vegas. We flew to Vegas, 40 people. And I'm thinking, gosh, why are we flying 40 people all the way to Vegas? We could have done that in Effingham, and it saved us a fortune. And that would be the fact that it might have, but I digress. But about 45 minutes into that, only 45 minutes into that goal setting, I think it might have been our very first goal setting process, it just came upon me that if General Motors had done what we were doing at Heartland Dental with 60, 70, 80 offices, well, no, I guess by the time we probably had 100 and something, they would have never gone bankrupt. It transformed my thinking that there's big organizations, big organizations who really don't have great planning and great alignment of thought and process. And they do well because they've got this killer product and so forth. And as you say, I think they do well. The question is for how long? And I don't know how long it'll work for Heartland, but I do know this, that our only chance for a 40-year continued run and growth is to have this embedded training leadership organization where it creates opportunities and teaches people how to treat people, teaches people the language of how we're going to resolve issues in planning and so forth. So
rapidly forward, going to Las Vegas, for you and Pat Bauer and your other leaders spending a lot of money to take people out there to learn about leadership, which is a big commitment, and wondering what's the return on investment of this. But the process, as I recall, we worked on is working on the factor that is the biggest cause of success for a business and the biggest cause of failure, and that is really paying attention to the external environment and the changes taking place surrounding a business, and then understanding it carefully, and then creating excellent goals and internalizing them and subscribing to them and committing, and then working your tails off to achieve them as a team. And we were doing that, and you were in there in the middle of it, and you were wrapped up doing that. And that's something that you've embedded into the Heartland culture. And you know this better than I do, but it's been where there are 12 to 13,000 associates. And what the goal is for the founder on down through everybody in the organization to have with them every year their job design, the 10 major things they're going to accomplish, to bust them and prioritize and a game plan to do it, and then aligned and coached. And then the thing I love is people, in a way, hold themselves accountable or held accountable, because I have to report to my team, here's what I've done.
Yeah.
So
well, you're challenging us or teaching us, and then, we all hold each other accountable to learning the 8 domains and how the world changes around. And we look at this year, 2020, and how the world has changed around us. And your goal for 2019, you can't say I'd like the same goal with 10% more, because the world has changed so much. And And some businesses are going to be way ahead and some businesses are going to be gone. But I had a good plan. I know, but the world changed. And the question is, it's beyond, can one person see that? Everybody has to recognize that and then replan accordingly. And you know, we're only maybe 10 good years into this process, but it's really, you know, when I get to be a part of the Heartland team to do that, half of it is I'm thinking, and half of it is just getting a chance to watch other people really get a chance to think about how, like, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way.
You excel in mastering the external environment. It's not easy, not perfect. You never get it right, but you have to do it continuously, which is what you're saying.
Yes.
And keep on and learning it, and then keep on changing what we're doing. And the other part of it you did, which was just outstanding. This is a role model for the world, folks, that then realizing you needed other people to help grow, to leverage. And then the secret is spending the money and time to build them, to build their skills. And in that, you build teamwork and loyalty, and people feel like it's their family. And
yeah,
so you continuously build people, and so that allows you to grow.
Yeah,
so,
I can't agree. I mean, I may have gone from a 1.8 or a 2.0 to a 3.4 in that process based on my, you know, how we're all raised, but that's a 50% increase. But
you're much higher than the 3.4.
I know, but I do know that we are an embodiment of that. Again, I have 1 or 2% input on that, but the point is, our folks are incredible, and how our folks have grown, and the responsibility, and how they learn to work with, relate with, manage, lead others in their departments, so to speak, and how those departments came together. I mean, again, we may talk about it later, but our response to the COVID this year was, I mean, I'm blown away by what our folks did in the most challenging of times, and the response that we did and what we did during that shutdown period where everybody was uncertain, and then you know, how we could hope and plan for the great comeback, and then our results are, you know, almost double what they were before, and you're going, well, is that luck or what? But I'm going, you know what, I didn't have nothing to do with any of that double X, but I'll tell you what, it was because of the groundwork laid by working with you, our team working with you for all those years, that when the stuff hit the fan, the true mark came out, and our people, you know, went into a 7:30 meeting 7 days a week. It still happens, trying to figure out what all was going to happen, and here we are 200 days into it, and we're, you know, it's turned out as well as you could hope. I'll say it that way.
You know, that's a case example. It's a great lesson for the world and leaders. And looking back, March 15th, the world has shut down. The world shut down ability to go to a dentist. So we go from having a thriving business and income to zero.
Yes. Less than zero.
yeah, less than zero. Our expenses were still there. However,
I could tell that from a dental world perspective, 80+% of all people were ready to go back to the dentist. Dentists have been very good at knowing how to control viral transfers, at least since the mid 80s. And there was demand there, and there was money there. And that the people were thinking, well, if I'm going to go to the dentist, and while I'm here, and while everybody's all gowned up and everything else, do whatever you need to do, because I got plenty of time. I'm setting it up. And that's really in some ways what happened. And then as other states allowed to open, it was clear that demand was universal all across the country. and we got a chance to take care of people's needs.
And the part of the thing that's remarkable that the demand built up, but all of the work you've been doing for years, your team was there. You had to furlough people for a while. You handled it beautifully. And we've talked to large numbers of people in Heartland, and they all talk about profound commitment they gained already having home because of how well they were treated with respect and communications.
Yeah,
So,
it was certainly tough, and it was difficult. And we initially thought, if it's a couple of weeks, we gave everybody 2 weeks emergency pay, I guess you'd say, on March 15th. And we're thinking, well, one of the things that happened, the world's going to end, or the government's going to give us some guidance, or we're going to go back to work. And we could tell we weren't going to go back to work, but we began since they were going to do some things to help everybody. But you're right, very difficult decision to lay off 8,700 people, furlough. We paid their benefits all along the way, and we kept every single doctor, 1,800 doctors, on the payroll. At a cost to us of probably $20 million a month, but we made a commitment to them that that's what we're going to do. That's what we did, and we communicated often with them. They had time too, because they were mostly at home also. But we communicated often. We communicated that we didn't know. We communicated that we were learning. We communicated that what we told you yesterday is no longer the new reality. So in other words, we were as vulnerable but as honest and truthful as we possibly could, that when it came time to be allowed to reopen, everybody knew the plan. And so they could go back to work knowing we're going to run the plan, and that's take care of people. And it worked. It worked, as Winston Churchill said, it may end up being our finest hour.
yeah, that clearly is an example of the finest hour. And, as I was listening to you, and I was thinking, I hadn't quite thought about it in this way, but you're starting with every morning at 7:30 having calls with leadership teams, and then calling all of the associates. Everybody was calling. You kept extraordinarily high levels, excelled in communicating. And the nice part, you were completely honest. We're not sure the answer. We're looking, but through those many, many calls and many weeks and days that went on, now that you're saying that, and then you gradually started seeing possibilities and started planning, what do we do if we can't open, and how to open? And everybody, by the time you could open, everybody was on board and gradually had gotten through a lot of the pain and the losses and the grieving and the fear, and they were ready to go. So and you built everybody raring to go. The lessons there are, and then please correct me, Dr. Workman, if I'm off on that, but you guys, and Pat Bauer, Dr. Workman's key partner that running the associate that helps lead the business, and day there and loves. But he was saying that you're thinking about, well, how do we approach the recovery? And you went over, and really was from all the years of your building and leading and training, your building your culture, that let's start with our mission and vision, core values, and then our core values. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And yet you made that commitment to invest money when you're not having any money, investing in your people. And then the returns, the best way, the law, I think we think of, and I know you do, is the best way to build a business. One of the keys is you have to build yourself to become effective, to succeed and lead, and to perform and excel. And then you have to build your people so they help you build your business. So investing money, that the relative return, you don't see it, the cost benefit is not great short term, but the health and the strength of your company, the value of Heartland is stronger than the net earnings.
It's 100% true what you just said. And you're absolutely right that the time when there's the old adage, you sharpen the saw. There's a time when you ought to be working on yourself and working on your team. is long, long, long before you really need it. And it could be human nature that you wouldn't want to do that. Things are going great. I don't need to spend money. We're going great.
Right.
And until all of a sudden you really need a lot of good help and you haven't developed it, and you really needed to be in a higher, I don't know if the word is personal equity situation with all your key people, and you aren't. And again, I like to say I'm someplace between a 2 and a 3 on that. But the point is, we did do, I mean, again, whatever we did do a lot of that for a long period of time, and the returns were non-quantifiable, not at our choosing. That leadership investment and the goodwill is priceless and worth many, many, many times your original investment.
Yeah.
And that'd be something that I would say to somebody if they've got a 5-employee business, that you have aspirations. You could, first of all, if you never get bigger, you'll be better. If you get yourself better, your business, it's the opposite of how they taught us in dental school. That's why it's such a hard thing for me. But to realize that it is your team that builds your business. You build them, your team builds your business, because they're out talking to your customers. That is just the opposite of what I was taught in school. And that's why for me, it's such a foreign change.
Yeah.
We don't know of a better way other than to try to train everybody. And then we do get that larger commitment, as you mentioned, from a lot more people. And we're blessed to be in an industry or in a business that doesn't have to worry about whether it can grow. It's our only challenge is to figure out how much we can manage the growth of. And so if that is your challenge, the solution would be to have more people who are just, zealots for wanting to advance your business, advance your mission, culture, and values, because you can't make them go do it. You've got to make them want to and lead them to making them want to. And then if they do, you just reward them and cheer them on, because they're going.
One of the benefits an organization gets, leaders out there, is when you really build what we call an achiever culture, effective leadership, effective individuals, effective communications, effective responsibility taking. It was me, it's my job, I need to do it. That you provide an organization, a job, and a culture that people have the chance to be the most successful they can become. They have a chance and encouragement to do that. What that does is cause other really effective people in other jobs to want to come to work for your organization. So the probability is Heartland, as an example, would become much more attractive for people to say, wow, I want to work there. So very highly qualified dentists would really look at Heartland, boy, I get to work there. So there would be many more. And then you were mentioning there more during the COVID crisis, the awareness of the value of a great organization. So it's increased the number of people who wanted to join Heartland.
You call it, I guess, the equity theory, but the world in dentistry knows that we want to have more practices join us. We want to have more doctors come to work in our brand new offices. So there's no hidden secret, no hidden agenda. Everybody knows that. We have to do our best to try to have every doctor feel like, even when we're less than ideal, that they go, but they're trying their best. They're not trying to take advantage of me. They didn't do this the best. I didn't do that as well, but sometimes that happens. They weren't bad people. They just didn't get a good outcome. And so that becomes a part of your culture, which I think comes from, I don't know how to say it. It's a sum total of all of the work that we try to do through the Bell Leadership Training.
Dr. Workman, looking back, and thanks for all this time you're taking, but any lessons that you'd want to pass on and recommend to people early on in their careers, or things to do to focus on to become successful and really make contributions?
I think something that I didn't know to do But I would tell people early on to find themselves a mentor. Really work hard for that. That might be your first business model move, would be to find somebody. I think I shared earlier that, I didn't come out of school expecting to do what I did. And when I started doing it, I remember the other dentist would say, well, he must not be very busy if he has to have all these offices. And then I'd say, well, I'm thinking about, I think I could double it to 10. And like going, well, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. And like, well, I think I could double it to 20. And they go, that's 4 times more dumb. And so my point is, if you had a mentor, they might be able to help you and say, no, really, you can. Now you might want to be smart about this and plan for it and all this other stuff. But to find some people who could be a brain trust, not a yes person to you, but who could challenge you, would not be threatened by, well, if he expands his number of muffler shops, that'll cut into my business. But to tell you, here's generally how, if you want to expand a business, you want to go to multi-locations and so forth, these are the challenges that you're probably going to have to face.
I was thinking about it and preparing for this interview, and I was thinking about your skills and talents and gifts. And one of them, and I'm not sure we've ever talked about it, but I'll call it courage. I was thinking about you went from the school, from farm school, open to practice, and took the risk. And then everybody was telling you no, and don't do it this way. But you had the courage to do things that were different. And does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever know why. I mean, I think about that. I've had, 50 chances to quit, retire, be sane. I do truly love the challenge, complexity. I mean, you're playing 3 or 4 dimensional chess here. I also know that every year another 1,000 people have jobs and a great opportunity. And I know that there was never an administrative level position in dentistry before Heartland was created. And now that we create 100 plus per year, there weren't very many jobs where dentists could get paid very much or train people formally to as a mentor. And now they do. And then there's another 100 and something dentists who get a chance to buy Heartland stock, which I know in my heart in 40 years will make their investment versus owning their own practice better. And they don't have to work 80 hours a week and go home and enjoy their life and not have to wait till they're 42 to get married like I did. My point is, I could stop, but I do love it. Why I kept going, I can't always explain that. I can't, but I was just compelled. I couldn't stop, and I couldn't think of a reason not to move forward. I would have just as much happiness I felt moving forward as slowing down and sitting back.
The technology and the science and the methodology of treating patients, of dentistry, that's I was lucky to go to the dental educational leadership meeting and learning all that. I'm sitting there just, wow, it's amazing. Yeah. And it'll be that way, I'm sure. But
well, the technology with the scanning and the digital, everything, now then CTs are becoming, I mean, this guy did these implants in the pterygoid process, and you're going, I go, oh my God, but you see the pictures before and after, and you're going, absolutely transformed a person's life, transformed their life. And that would be dentistry at its highest level.
Well, the seems like one of the real purposes, goals of life, and to be lucky to have a chance to do it, is to live as fully as you can for as long as you can healthily. So as you know, I always urge people to set a goal to live to be at least 100.
Yeah.
But then the goal is to live fully, to give all your best, to learn, have fun, to use all of your skills to fully engage and have fun. So I tend to urge people not to retire in the sense of giving up. You can add other things to your schedule, slow down from an operating confinement, but to never retire from life of living fully. And you're doing that. And that alone is a great example.
That is incredible wisdom that you share there. and it is true. You could stop working and spend 2 hours a day working on crossword puzzles. There's nothing bad about crossword puzzles, but in essence, we're getting mental exercise by continuing to grapple with all the things that we get to grapple with, and the opportunity that comes by helping others, by being in a position to provide charity or support or donations from abundance, is a much better, in my mind, a way to approach life than from scarcity.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Workman, what a treat. What fun and spark. And I love that people can tell from watching you, your zest in life and great sense of humor also, which it's interesting. I keep bragging about you. I know you're not perfect like me and everyone else. We're not perfect, but that's one of the things you do. You help people have fun.
Yeah. Well, again, it's been a long, strange journey, as they say, but and I certainly a lot did not know how it'd turn out, but I was always, I think, optimistic, and you're always trying to do the right thing, and you just, you know, I was raised to have a faith that if you do the right thing and you're working hard, trying to treat people the right way, that the odds are in your favor, that they'll come out in some level of in a good way, and it's turned out probably on the higher end of good level. I'm thrilled for all the other people who've benefited along the way, and knowing, as our pressure test is with thousands of people looking at this, at the end result are those supported doctors, patients getting better care, better protocol, with the right equipment, with the right supplies, and the right work environment experience for their teams. And I know that's the case, because if we have 50, 75, 100 offices affiliate per year, and then they tell me 3 years later, 85% say, I only wish I'd have done this sooner. This is better for everybody. That is an affirmation to me and our entire team that we're on the right track. We're trying to get the right things done. And then it just happens that, God bless America, we get remunerated for that, but it's because of the hard work on the processes and the goals and the outcomes to treat people right.
Yeah, that's well said. Well said. And so I'll give everybody watching, so you have homework, take home. So each of you who have the chance to watch this, recommend to you, would you be so kind, write down at minimum 5 main learnings that you acquired from Dr. Workman's wisdom and experience. 5 actions you will take to put into practice his concepts, his ideas, his experiences. And then be sure to force yourself, get the privilege of writing down, what did I learn? What are ideas I've heard? A lot of the ideas are really tough to implement, take a lot of guts and courage and sticking to it. But challenge your own thinking and capture your learnings. Those in Heartland, what a gift to learn and think and be continued inspired. So everybody have fun. The world needs leaders. The problems in humanity won't be solved until we have great leaders who build companies, organizations, hospitals, communities, who build people, who build jobs, who build contributions. So your leaders and building yourself to be a leader is your gift to make the world a better place and make yourself successful and happy. So have fun, do great, everybody. Loved having you, and we will talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.